the cleanser, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg in it. An arm and a leg.
Arm and a leg,
okay.
yeah.
You don't have to...
A leg and an arm, a leg and an arm, an arm and a leg. What's up, you guys? I am super excited because today is the day that I get to sit with this incredible dermatologist, Dr. Laura Scott. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I am going to pick her brain and ask all the questions I've ever had about skin and skincare. Thank you to Neutrogena for sponsoring this video. Obviously, I feel like since having my son, the things that I want to spend time doing has totally changed. Like literally before, I could have had a 20-step skincare routine, and you have 4 children yourself.
Yeah.
Even sleep deprivation, does that change skin?
Absolutely. And the thing that happens too, as a mom, we like to say the days are long, but the years are short, right? And it really does fly by. And so one thing we also forget is we're just aging. As those baby birthdays go by, we're also aging. So not only are we aging, we're also getting a lot less sleep. Oftentimes we're dealing with more stress, right? So there are a lot of changes that happen once you become a mom. And not only do we not have as much time, but our actual skincare needs change as well. So oftentimes people can be oilier as teenagers. We can start to get drier as we get older. And so now all of a sudden we need more moisture. So a lot of things can go on.
Now, obviously, even though I didn't give birth, I feel like there's just been so much changes in my life and my lifestyle. I'm now working at E! News, which is in Los Angeles, and we stay here in this house. And then every Thursday, I fly back to New York for the weekends, which I even feel like the exhaustion of that, the travel of that, I feel so dehydrated when I get off the plane. So I'm like, maybe even while I'm holding the baby while he's sleeping on the plane, is there something I should be doing that I can do so that when I get off the plane, my skin cannot feel like literally so dry?
Yeah, and that's a lot that you're doing,
yeah.
right? And I think oftentimes we do think of what we call the physiologic changes during motherhood.
Yeah.
And
I'm like, I'm not experiencing that,
but guess what? There are so many environmental changes that still come with motherhood on its own. And then now with this altered schedule that you have, you know, in LA, it's a lot drier than it is out on the East Coast.
Yes, I
just moved.
Yeah. Different vibes. So where were you living before?
I was in Miami, which is like humid capital of the States. And then now I live in San Diego, and it's a lot drier. And then if you're adding in air travel on a regular basis, air travel just one time can affect your skin, but you're doing it regularly. And then going to cold New York, which again, it's a little bit more humid, but most people have their heaters on high, which is also drying out your skin.
I never thought about the fact that like our heaters in our home that's keeping us warm for sure is drying out our skin.
That's absolutely what dries out our skin during the wintertime if you live like back on the East Coast or somewhere where you're bumping up the heater during that wintertime.
So is there any such thing as too much hydration for the skin?
That's a great question. I don't want to say too much hydration, but inappropriate hydration, right? So if you're somebody who's really acne prone, you don't want to use a really heavy moisturizer because you can actually clog your pores and then potentially develop breakouts. So it's not so much that you're over moisturizing your skin, but your skin will only take in as much moisture as it needs. The rest of it will just sort of sit there and can potentially clog pores. So that's why I love light moisturizers and really just using the amount that you need. So the Hydro Boost moisturizer from Neutrogena is one of our holy grails that people with sort of this mixed skin.
That's
me.
Exactly.
So you have like patches that are dry, patches that are oily.
I call it my bicoastal skin. It's like my bicoastal skin. I am dry. Usually like I can get like flaky sometimes in here, like my forehead. I feel like my cheeks can get dry at sometimes. And then I'm so oily, like in these areas, like around my nose, I'm always super oily.
Yep, and that's super common. And then some people are flipped. So a lot of times people are dry in this area and then, you know, the rest of their cheeks and whatnot can be oily. So you are not alone.
Hydro Boost.
The Hydro Boost is definitely gonna be your best friend. And then it's nice because, you know, say in the middle of the day, you're feeling like you need another boost of moisture in those areas where you get dried out, you can just go ahead and add that. You know, the moisturizer itself has enough water, it has hyaluronic acid, acid, it has glycerin that are really gonna lock in that moisture in those areas that you need it without clogging, the other areas.
I just like to say the word hyaluronic acid. Comment below if you too have just been like, hyaluronic acid, hyaluronic acid, hyaluronic acid. Now I know. So Hydro Boost is obviously something that we can use all day long. Is there anything that I can use like on an airplane, almost as like an overnight cream or something like that?
Yeah, so I'll say it's all about your level of comfort with how extra you are in the plane, okay?
I want to be extra. She wants to be. Comment below if you know how extra I want to be. You already know.
It all depends on how that
Dr.
level.
Laura, you don't even know. I will do a whole. The next episode that we're actually doing together is, I'm just kidding. I'm like, will be how I do a whole facial, my 5-step skincare routine on the airplane.
It's because if some people do want to be more discreet, I would say just using a good moisturizer and sort of having that, making sure you can have clean hands on the airplane.
Yeah.
And then using that throughout your flight can be
Clean
good
hands
enough.
is key.
For those of us who like to be a little bit more discreet. If you're okay being extra, I love Hydro Boost actually makes a hydrogel mask as well. So literally you can just open it up, put it on, and it's gonna add so much moisture to your skin.
Will it just soak in or will it look crazy?
It's actually like a sheet mask. Sort of.
Oh my gosh.
It's a sheet mask that you can keep on. So that's what I'm saying. It depends on how
Oh, no,
extra
that's
you want to
perfect.
be.
Listen, I'm on the red eye. Everybody is asleep around me.
So
She
that's
is going to be
actually
there
a
with the
great
whole
time.
sheet mask, holding my baby,
You can
just
absolutely
knocked out.
do
And then
that.
when I get off, I literally just take it off.
Just take it off and you got your moisture. You are
Boom.
like, plain what? That didn't do anything to my skin.
Listen, if you see me on the plane, if you know, you know. Just keep on walking, keep it pushing down the aisle. You already know what's going on. You
And
already
if you are somebody, if you're going back to New York and you do feel like you're still struggling with dry skin, I always recommend having a humidifier in the house. So that's one way we can just, obviously we can't, control the humidity in the airplane.
Yeah.
But at home, if you do have the heat on, having a humidifier is something that helps too.
That's so good in general, just on a health level. Like,
and for babies, it's really good too. So
for, my husband's singing throat. He loves to have a good humidifier. So now that I know, sometimes I'm like, there's one that was a little noisy and I was a little annoyed by it. I turned it off.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, wait a second.
And now you're like, you know what? Skin.
It's gonna be so worth it. I'm gonna need that. Okay, speaking of like doing a skincare routine in an airplane, what should my skincare routine look like now? Like I said before, I don't have the luxury of having a bunch of time. Honestly, sometimes I'm just too tired.
Yeah.
Like I'm just too tired to go through like a 20-step. I know on TikTok, y'all be doing 73-step routines.
They're always doing the most.
I want to keep it super simple. What is the necessary steps that I have to take to have great skin?
Yeah, that's a great question and one that I oftentimes hear from new moms where you're just like, I don't have the time that I used to have.
I don't want to do the most
don't
there.
want to do it all. I don't want to do all of that. And a lot of it's going to come down to your own skin concerns. But I would say for most people who have quote unquote normal skin, right? And in our age, we're maybe struggling with a little bit of discoloration. Maybe we're struggling with occasional breakouts.
Yeah.
And we certainly are starting to see some early lines and things like that, right? That's
crow's
we're
feet.
there, okay?
When I smile really hard, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting little crow's feet.
So we'll talk about a skincare to address, a skincare routine to address those things. And really what you want is a gentle cleanser. It can be the most simple part of your skincare routine, but it can also do so much damage when people are using these over exfoliating cleansers. So really we want to preserve our skin barrier, and the cleansing step is one of the most important steps. So gentle skin cleanser, again, I love all things Hydro Boost, and the Hydro Boost gel cleanser is just a really nice option.
Using gentle cleansers, and they were so gentle, they were not removing things like the liquid eyeliner.
That's such a great point.
And then I would find myself scrubbing so hard that then I would be like, my eyelid is kind of raw.
You'd get like irritation on that area.
Yeah.
You can get rashes. So that's a great point. And if you are dealing with, full face of makeup, Neutrogena wipes, and doing this sort of version of double cleansing. So you're going to use the wipes first, and then you go ahead with your really gentle cleanser.
Love that.
Right? And so if we're talking nighttime, because that's when you'd be doing this, the next thing after that would be starting a retinol. And I don't know if you already have a retinol in your routine or not.
I'm scared to try retinol because I suffer from a bit of rosacea. And so I would be considered like sensitive skin.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I have heard from so many people that this is literally like what has people aging backwards. Like this is the ultimate thing that you want to use if you're really preventing fine lines and wrinkles. And baby, She's turning 40 this year. A girl needs to sign up for some retinol. So tell me, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
How do I start so that I don't become flaky? Because I heard you can get like super dry.
Absolutely. And what I'll say is when we're talking retinols, there's a sort of scale in terms of strength of retinol.
Okay.
So oftentimes you're going to hear people talking about retinoids as well, which is the prescription strength, and that's where you're going to see the most peeling, right? That's where you're going to see some of these scary photos.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people bundle them all together. So they'll talk about retinol and retinoid and use them interchangeably.
But they're two completely different
things.
But
they are, they're sort of like cousins, right?
Yeah.
You got like your little cousin who's good at talking and can get the same result, and then you got your big cousin who's going to come in and just body everybody and get the same result, but he did it in a much more aggressive way, right? That's sort of like your retinol versus retinoid.
She wants to go with retinol. Give me the baby cousin.
So we're going to do the baby cousin, and you do an over-the-counter retinol, so it's not prescription. Neutrogena has a great option. It's one of their rapid wrinkle repair
you hear that?
lotions.
Rapid wrinkle repair. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Hit me in the crow's feet.
And really, one of the keys is starting slow. And I think that's what's hard for many of us, because we can start a new product and we're like, ooh, I like this, I'm excited about this, so let me, lather it on my face, and I'm gonna do it every night, and maybe I'm even gonna go extra and do it day and night, because I really want this to work.
I feel attacked.
Don't worry, it's not just
That is totally me. I am the person that if it says on the label, it'll be like 2 pumps, I'm like, but if I do like 3 or 4, will I get like extra
And that's
results?
not how so with retinol, that's absolutely not how it works. With retinol, it will teach you real quick. You listen to what I said in the bottle,
directions.
And you really need to use it as directed and in a slow sort of build up your tolerance kind of way, because more is not better. More will absolutely get your redness and peeling. Even in a weaker retinol, you can still get that happen. So I really like people to start usually every other night with an over-the-counter retinol. And somebody who has rosacea, I oftentimes will say, when you're starting out, use your moisturizer first. So oftentimes people get confused about the order of skincare, right?
Okay.
So it's your
cleanser,
and then traditionally, I would say your active product. And active just means it has an ingredient that's meant to be doing something. So retinol would be your active product. Typically, I would say cleanse, and then your active retinol, and then moisturizer on top to seal it all in.
Hydro boost it out.
In people with rosacea or really sensitive skin, I actually flip those last two. So we cleanse, and then we do moisturizer to be a little extra barrier in between the skin and the active, and then your retinol.
Will I ever graduate from moisturizer to retinol? Will I ever be able to?
Yeah.
So it's almost introducing it to my skin. That's probably the best way.
Exactly. And really all it does, it's not going to prevent the product from getting down, but it slows down that absorption.
Yeah.
And again, this is still a more gentle formulation, but it just makes it even more gentle for those who may have rosacea or otherwise sensitive skin. And what happens is, as your skin gets used to it, and how do you know if oftentimes, how do I know if my skin is used to it?
Yeah.
Well, you're just not going to feel anything, right? And in that case, you can either switch the order, or you can increase the frequency to using it nightly. So whichever one you want to do first, that can be your switch, and then you can just sort of keep going from there.
Okay, let's talk eye creams, because I've never used an eye cream. I feel like now that I'm getting older, like these are the things that I'm concerned about, especially my eye area. Do I just use the same moisturizer like all over? And what's the difference between like a regular Hydro Boost versus an eye cream?
That's a great question. And I would say for, younger people who might be watching this video, I always like to keep it real. Like, you do not need an eye cream.
Really?
You do not need an eye cream. Younger people, right?
She's literally saying, girl, I'm not talking to you. She said for the young, she said younger people.
It's for us, okay? Because we're both
there. But you, mama, use that eye cream.
I just always like to say that, because I do see, and I take care of pediatric patients and teenage patients, and I see, girls 18, 19, spending all this money on an eye cream. And in that instance, you really don't need it. In those populations, you can really just use your moisturizer use it all over and in the eye area as well. Once we're starting to get concerned with these fine lines and that what we call crepiness under the skin, right? We put in our concealer and I still see little lines.
Yes.
That's when we want to start thinking about about getting that collagen production back up. And there's two ways to do it. Sometimes people will use their retinol cream in that under eye area.
Okay.
And it's nice because there are products that are specially formulated with retinol as an eye cream, and Neutrogena has one. I actually prefer peptides in the under eye area though. And especially when, we're gonna get there, especially when, you know, we're talking about changes in sleep and things like that that we go through as a mom.
Yeah.
This one in particular I like because it also has caffeine in it, which is something that can help to depuff the under eye area. So you get the immediate effect of the caffeine depuffing, but you also get the long-term effect of peptides turning on collagen production. And what are peptides? They are basically small, tiny little pieces of signaling molecules that turn on collagen production. So they're not as strong as retinol, but they end up doing a very similar thing without the irritation of retinol.
So that is definitely the product that I need. What product is that?
That's the Hydra Boost Plus eye cream. And you'll see it. It's got caffeine written on it and the peptides.
Because literally the flight that I take is the nighttime flight. We fly overnight.
Gotcha.
So
So
I
you're
get
taking
on
that red eye.
It's the red eye. Guys, that's literally called a red eye. If you don't know, it's the flight that goes cross country overnight.
Yes.
I get on the flight at 9:55 and we land at like 5:30 a.m. Your girl needs caffeine in her cup and under her eyes because I need to depuff. I always tell Israel that I feel like I get so puffy from the flight. Have you ever seen a bag of chips like after the flight? And that's my face. That is my face after getting off the airplane. So I feel like that's definitely gonna be so helpful for the under eyes to depuff. Comment below if you're looking for a product to depuff your under eyes. The Hydra Boost Plus is where it's at. So now that we've covered pretty much what our nighttime skincare routine would look like, let's discuss mom life and daytime skincare because again, I don't want this to be a long drawn out process. I'm lucky if my son goes down for like an hour nap and I can possibly take a shower and pull myself together. But what should that look like?
Yeah, so again, I like to keep things super simple. Me personally, I have a 3-step routine in the morning, 3-step in the evening. And that's pretty much like as minimal as it's gonna get.
Yes, that's the best.
Especially for a dermatologist, but I just think if you have good products, you don't need a ton of extra.
So true.
And so in the morning, oftentimes it looks like cleansing your skin again. And quite honestly, you don't have to use a cleanser. For a lot of people, especially for somebody on the drier type or more sensitive skin type.
I always wondered this.
Yeah, I always tell people, you know, it depends. So I don't like to make blanket statements like nobody needs to wash their face in the morning. You still gotta rinse your face, get the crusties out,
get the crust out your eyes. No one wants to see you with your baba stains on your lip coming down.
It doesn't have to be, you know, using this foaming cleanser again because that can overstrip the skin over time. Absolutely. And so we do, for me personally, it's a rinse of water in the morning, unless I've used something really heavy at night or something like that. But then you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna use your moisturizer again, and we can use our same Hydra Boost moisturizer if that's what you wanna use. And then I like to have this do-it-all product, and so I use a tinted sunscreen in the morning. And that's like my skincare routine. That's
Dr. Laura. This is my moment when I'm like, Señorita Laura.
We knew it was coming.
Let's discuss sunscreen versus sunblock. What is the difference between the two and why do I have to use it?
This is such a good question. So one, the sunscreen versus sunblock is a little bit more outdated, but what it used to be was that sunscreens were considered what are called the chemical filters. So basically the chemical sunscreens like oxybenzone, octocrylene, you see all these ingredients. But those are chemical ingredients that block UVA or UVB from the sun. And I shouldn't say block, they screen because it still sort of gets through the skin and then it stops the sun from actually getting down to your skin cell, your actual skin cells and causing damage. So those traditionally were sunscreens, and sun blocks were actually the mineral ones, which are like literally crushed up rocks, the zinc oxide or titanium dioxide that sit on top of the skin, and they almost act like a shield. Traditionally, it was like that's your white, ghostly looking sunscreen that sits on top of the skin and then blocks the UV, you know. And now we actually have a different understanding, and we know that even UV, you know, all UV filters screen, and they don't all traditionally block, but that's where the terminology comes from.
Got it.
It's really not important.
You're like, use one of these things,
It's really not important, but why why the actual sunscreen discussion is important is because, and I think traditionally, especially those of us, Boricua here.
I was literally gonna say, as a fellow Boricua, like, I grew up being what I called like a sun goddess. Like I loved just laying in the sun. I had girlfriends growing up in like Coney Island, like you'd go to the beach and put beer to like fry your skin. Comment below the craziest thing you've ever done to get a bomb tan.
Yeah.
Because I've always loved to be bronceada. Well. Like I want to be tan.
And we know, oftentimes in our skin types, it takes a lot more sun for us to burn.
Yes.
Not necessarily using the sunscreen. I wasn't raised using sunscreen to prevent a burn.
No.
And I saw my mom and all of us would sit out trying to get darker. Yes. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And it is. Darker is beautiful. Dark is beautiful. But what we are now learning is that with cumulative sun exposure, and this is a really important part because oftentimes when we're talking about sunscreen, I ask my patients all the time, even when I worked in Miami, are you wearing sunscreen? Yeah, but only when I go out in the sun, but I don't really go out in the sun. And I'm like, but you made it here to clinic, right?
You're like, you drove.
How did you get here? Did you take the underground tunnel that doesn't exist? There is sun exposure that we get every single day, even in the winter time, even
cloudy. They say like sometimes that's even worse, right?
It can be, absolutely.
Overcast.
And so again, it's that what we call cumulative, these small amounts of sun exposure that add up over the years. Like our skin cells remember, so they know what you did when you were 15.
my skin, I absolutely know it remembers because I'm now developing sunspots, aka aging spots. And it's so funny, I have a makeup artist that I work with at E, and she's like, I love your freckles. And every time she says it, I'm thinking to myself, that's definitely like sun damage on my cheeks. But thank you for calling them my freckles. And she thinks they're so cute, but like,
I know.
Can you see? Like,
Can you see mine?
I do, but that's like from so much sun exposure as a teenager. Like I definitely literally used to fry myself baby oil. Like that was a thing. And is there a way to still be able to take sun in a healthy, just tell me the truth.
I'll tell you the truth. So any little bit of tan is a sign of UV damage. Now I still say, I love the sun. You can't take away my love for the sun. I think the sun can be healing for our moods and so many other things.
On, vitamin
I
D.
am a very pro-sun dermatologist. I know you'll see some with who just don't even want to be outside. I love the sun and I like to be outside as much as possible. I just try to do it in a more protected way. So I'm wearing my sunscreen. If I'm going to be out for a really long time, I'm probably wearing a hat as well. But yeah, if you're tanned, you got a little bit of damage. So honestly, I recommend, self-tanners or using, tinted products. So tinted sunscreen for me is just I love that it gives me a little bit of glow. I don't look so pale because I look at photos of myself as a teen and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like 5 shades darker.
Same.
And now that I've been good with my sunscreen use, I see it. I'm not the same skin tone that I used to be.
Yeah,
so I like that.
I don't want to be, obviously, I don't want to look crazy and look like Casper the Friendly Ghost, but at the same time, I do recognize that I want to age gracefully. And so I am officially signing up to wear sunscreen.
Thank you.
And I know there's so many options now. Like now they have them where they're tinted. They almost work like a light foundation, and as I've gotten older as well, I don't love heavy makeup for every day. Like I don't. I get it that when I'm on camera or going to an event, you are going to see me beat to capacity. The lashes are going to be on. It's going to be a lot, especially for camera. It blows out your makeup. But even today, I did my own makeup because I actually love to see my skin now as I've gotten older. And so I'm in love with tinted moisturizers, and Neutrogena has one that has sunscreen in it.
Yes, they have a new mineral option, which is really nice because some people want that mineral option. And it also provides visible light protection, which is great because it's just another way to protect.
Visible light protection.
Yeah, it's another way to protect against dark spots and hyperpigmentation, and then the sun doing what it does, which is break down our collagen under our skin. So it's nice.
Someone told me that's also a skincare pro tip is don't put all of these products on your face and then lay down.
Go straight to sleep.
You're like, yo, you just gave your whole pillow all these amazing ingredients. So they actually say try to do it a little bit before so that it absolutely has its full absorbency.
Yeah. And so there are some people who are more disciplined and they'll set this alarm before their bedtime and like do their skincare. But for me, it's just like I come home and I would rather just, and that's why I call it my evening skincare routine.
Yeah, it's
because
not
you really
just
don't have to wait until you're, you know, halfway asleep or already asleep, especially getting the kids down. I know I've been there for so many bedtimes, and it completely drains you. And to be sitting there in a quiet room and then trying to tiptoe out, it's so much easier to just stay there asleep.
I'm gonna be right here. So if that happens, and let's say you experience breakout the next day, what do we do to remedy the situation?
So that's a great question. Whenever if it's a legit breakout, you can
like
see
a spot treatment.
I love hydrocolloid patches for that. That's something really nice to use. It helps to actually shrink the pimple, but it also helps protect us and protect the pimple from ourselves, right? Because I don't know about you, but I can be a picker.
Same.
I know better. I know more than anybody not to do it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard not to if you have something on your face. So hydrocolloid patches are incredible, and Neutrogena makes them. They have the small little versions, and then they even have larger patches. So
just go over a whole area.
Yeah, say you're somebody who breaks out more in your chin or right along your jawline. Exactly. You can use some of those larger ones. So that's a really nice thing to do in a pinch when the pimple's already there. The best thing to do though is to prevent it from coming up in the first place, and that's when you start incorporating some acne products into your skincare routine. Now we already talked about retinol, and retinol itself can help with acne.
Really?
If you're truly struggling with acne, I like Neutrogena's stubborn marks treatment. It has some retinol in it, and it's formulated in a way that's a little bit better for acne as opposed to the wrinkle repair.
What is it called again?
The stubborn marks treatment.
Is it actually also going to take away any scarring?
It starts to fade the dark marks. That one's a nighttime product that's really nice to use, especially if you know, like I am struggling with acne. And it can help prevent new acne from forming and then fade the dark spots that get left over. And those of us with darker skin tones, those dark spots can last up to 6 months.
What?
Yeah.
Comment below if you've been looking for something to get rid of dark marks, or if you're struggling with breakouts. Comment below, be like, listen, I see you.
But for texture in general, I like to have people use a gentle exfoliant, right? And so I say gentle because when we talk about exfoliating, oftentimes we think about that old like scrub that everybody used to use. And
apricot scrubs that were like tearing the skin up.
Really harsh and physical scrubs. I'm okay with them sometimes on the body, but on the face, we really do have to be more gentle. So I like chemical exfoliants, and glycolic acid is one of my favorite ingredients that can really just help. This is an acid that will help to break apart the glue that keeps those skin cells stuck together. Because that's another beautiful thing that we have as we get a little bit older, is that our skin, its natural ability to exfoliate slows down as we age. And so now we start to incorporate more exfoliants so that we get more of that glow and we don't get that buildup that leads to stubborn texture.
We've got stubborn texture right here.
You know, treatment that really
Can I spot treat this one area with it?
You can spot treat, and it's something that it's helpful to sort of just test out. I oftentimes have people just test it out
on the area and see that it's not like irritated or anything by it. I am going to try that, and I'm just so grateful right now that I got to pick your brain about all my skin questions. Your girl is gonna focus on being good to her skin and taking those 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, because I really do feel like right now, skincare has really been my self-care moment to take care of myself as a new mom. So I am inspired and focused to wash my face before I go to bed. You guys, comment below if you have any other questions for Dr. Laura, because trust me, I will be hitting her up and continuing to ask her 1,000,001 questions. And again, thank you to Neutrogena for sponsoring this video.